I will come to you. Would we please not interrupt each other? I see you, Mr. Vang. Mr. Hoffman, you were answering the question. And unless you want to withdraw your motion, Mr. Fortuna, I'm going to let Mr. Hoffman finish his statement. Go ahead,
My
Mr.
only piece was the Tony's piece. We have the data about the parents that want to come back. We have that now. Whether it's they like the model, they not like the model, but we have that survey, and it's doable, and we're going to update that again. But the idea, I just want to make sure I'm clear about the motion. We're putting together a committee to be
No,
able
it's
to.
to ask to put that on the agenda.
Okay, so to put on the agenda to have a conversation about whether we want to develop a plan to bring all kids back, regardless of the health conditions. We're just, where the health conditions exist now, we should be able to bring all kids back. That's and include everybody in that conversation.
Mr. Fortuna?
Thank you. You know, I don't want to get into a bunch of disagreements. First of all, EGA did a survey of its teachers. It did not ask the teachers, it did not give them the option of full return back to school. They didn't ask that question. They asked them two other kinds of questions. They didn't ask them, you want to go back to school? They didn't even have a choice for that question. Our parents didn't have a choice either in our surveys. So, you know, from my perspective, no one's ever been asked whether or not they want to return to school. And I'd like to, well, that's where we are. I think I've said what I need to say, Beth. I mean, it's
Okay,
either,
well, I'm just trying to take a turn to finish and then take a vote, but I keep getting interrupted.
Thank you then.
And Mr. Yang?
I just want to add that we all are taking precaution of try to keep the kids and the staff safe. We know that. But at the end of the day, some people, which means some students and some parents, including myself, we would like to have the options in case that number never drop into a lower tier, which is the red tier. So I think that as a board facing a pandemic, which I mentioned earlier, from the top, which is the government, all the way to our local school district, there's a lot of uncertainties. I think that we should have our alternative solution to give people choices. And let's just say, if we gonna reopen, what is the best solution in terms of conditions that need to go along with open it? What are those conditions? And when we talk about that kind of conversation, then we gonna have conditions to provide the solution to make that happen. So I think that I'm in supportive of having that conversation, because we just don't know. We just don't know when that condition of our proposed solution right now in terms of bringing students back to school, it's gonna get there. We don't know. We just don't know. That's the reality. Even the government don't know. So I think we should have an alternative, and that is what I'm supporting. And that's what I hear Mr. Fortuna is saying. So I think that we should consider giving people choices, and with condition that will provide safety. And again, it's not going to be 100% safe. Nowhere in the world is. But we're going to have condition that will allow kids to go back to school.
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Hoffman, have we had one student, one staff person under distance learning catch or die from COVID-19?
Ask the question again.
Under distance learning, has anybody caught COVID-19 or died? Students in our student body or staff?
Yeah, I can't speak because I don't have data on whether people got it in their homes or not. They would have it. I mean, I'm sure there's people that have brought the virus home from work, and children have gotten the virus that way. So in a distance learning model, we have had staff on campuses who have been contacted with COVID, brought it to work, and people got infected at work while we were in a distance learning model. So I do know that with regards to our staff, but we don't get, unless somebody's self-report, we don't get data on families and kids who may have been infected during this period. That's not the information that's provided to us.
That issue right there with staff is a Cal OSHA issue, and I think there's new legislation reporting now of Cal OSHA reporting.
So our employees, I know about it. You're talking about kids in distance learning.
Yeah, I'm
Employees,
saying
we've
the staff
been tracking our employees and doing that work. We have a system in place that takes care of the Cal OSHA piece. You asked about kids in distance learning.
yes, and staff, both.
So we
Well, to
have
me,
had
that's
staff.
100% if you can't answer that question.
So we have had staff.
Mr. Perez, stop talking over him, please.
We have had staff. We shared those numbers with you. Was it during the workshop? We showed how we were like 9 positive cases among staff in October, and it ramped up big in November and again in December. And it's why we put a hiatus on activities and athletics the week before winter break, and we didn't bring them back until 2 weeks after winter break, because then the numbers went down. So we were tracking that information, and we have that information, and we've done the testing and all the contact tracing related to that. So we've been doing that work.
There's your answer, Fang Yang.
Thank you. Okay, so I feel like we agreed on a plan in October. I recognize that science and things have changed since that point, but a negotiation is not a simple thing. I believe we went with the red tier as the guidance that was given by the experts at that point. I think we appreciate our partnerships that allowed us to get to that point at a time when many, many other districts were not able to. And we have a plan when CDC says we should be in school when community health allows. And right now, community health, our local people are saying it is not the right time, and people disagree. I 100% understand that. I think there's a lot of conflicting messages with how schools have been allowed to operate, how private schools have been allowed to operate, how my neighbor could be going to school, but I couldn't be going to school. I think when you get to certain parts of our district, they live so close to a different county that things are so different, only miles away. But there is going to be a point where these back up to each other at some point, and someone's drawn the line. I am not comfortable going against any, though Mr. Fortuna has reminded me many times I have the right to go against public advice from the public health advice and from the state. There won't be a time when I will vote to ever do that. That's my personal place to give the utmost caution to the whole situation. We have voted on a plan, we've worked on a plan. I wish we would have, we will continue to get out information to what it looks like. We will continue to get PD We will continue to let our people know what that looks like. We never gave a choice to full comeback in my mind because that hasn't been an option yet. And I think every person I've ever spoken to, that is what they would like when that is an option, and we do that well. We know how to do that. I think teachers are represented by a union, and we have to respect that relationship. And I would encourage them, if they have issues with that, that they do need to speak up in their union. And I value parent input 100%. I think we open a negotiation and we cannot ignore the elephant in the room that the next thing would be, we need a vaccination before we come back to school. And I think that we have come to an understanding with where we will provide you a safe workplace against all things. And I think out of fear, this could go very far and could go very south. And a negotiation is never a short process, because we are also continuing all the other things we're doing in the meantime. And so I think we're racing two things right now. We're racing community health going down, and we're racing getting vaccinations to our teachers. And anything I could do to help either of those things happen, I will lay down and get ran over for. I am 100% in. But I think opening a negotiation and changing a plan that we've been planned on for this long is a horrible idea to me personally. We heard from a lot of parents. Parents are very frustrated. I 100% understand. It's very frustrating. I do not think, we heard from a bunch of parents tonight. You guys were not here. I saw a lot of parents. I saw friends, neighbors out in the parking lot. We open this up, they'll fill it with teachers. We have a lot of players in the game, and we went through a process, and as a board, Mr. Carmine, Mr. Fortuna never agreed with the plan, but he was outvoted at that point, and we accepted the plan and we've moved on. And now it's coming back around, and I do not feel we're in the right point to do this. So I'm going to call the question right now and call for a roll call on whether we will put this on a further agenda where we can discuss it even more. So I would start with Mr. Fortuna.
Aye.
Ms. Jamerson.
I respect the work that the board has done to get us this far, so I vote nay.
Mr. Yang.
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Perez.
Yes,
Thank you. Dr. Martinez Soler.
No.
Ms. Charis Espinoza.
No.
And I am a no. Your motion fails tonight, Mr. Fortuna.
I have something to say. Bring it up next meeting. Every time you speak, it grows and they listen.
I would like to conclude this virtual board meeting. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hey, you haven't asked the other members if they have something to say.